Exodus 2. A man from the household of Levi married a woman who was a descendant of Levi. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a healthy child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she was no longer able to hide him, she took a papyrus basket for him and sealed it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child in it and set it among the reeds along the edge of the Nile. His sister stationed herself at a distance to find out what would happen to him. Then the daughter of Pharaoh came to wash herself by the Nile while her attendants were walking alongside the river. And she saw the basket among the reeds. She sent one of her attendants, took it, opened it, and saw the child, a boy, crying. And she felt compassion for him and said, "This is one of the Hebrew children." Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get a nursing woman for you from the Hebrews, so that she may nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Yes, do so." So the young girl went and got the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take the child and nurse him for me, and I will pay your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him. When the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, "Because I drew him from the water." In those days, when Moses had grown up, he went out to his people and observed their hard labor, and he saw an Egyptian man attacking a Hebrew man, one of his own people. He looked this way and that and saw no one was there. And then he attacked the Egyptian and concealed the body in the sand. When he went out the next day, there were 2 Hebrew men fighting. So he said to the one who was in the wrong, "Why are you attacking your fellow Hebrew?" The man replied, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you planning to kill me like you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid, thinking, "Surely what I have done has become known." When Pharaoh heard about this event, he sought to kill Moses. So Moses fled from Pharaoh and settled in the land of Midian, and he settled by a certain well. Now a priest of Midian had 7 daughters. They began to draw water and fill the troughs in order to water their father's flocks. When some shepherds came and drove them away, Moses came up and defended them, and then watered their flocks. So when they came home to their father Ruel, he asked them, "Why have you come home so early today?" They answered, "An Egyptian man rescued us from the shepherds, and he actually drew water for us and watered the flocks." He said to his daughters, "So where is he? Why in the world did you leave the man? Call him so that he may eat a meal with us." Moses agreed to stay with the man, and he gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. When she bore a son, Moses named him Gershom, for he said, "I have become a resident foreigner in a foreign land." During that long period of time, the king of Egypt died, and Israel groaned because of the slave labor. They cried out, and their desperate cry because of their slave labor went up to God. God heard their groaning. God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. God saw the Israelites, and God understood. All right. We have a lot in this chapter. Like, we're taking big jumps forward several different times here. So we have 2 people that are Levites, and their names aren't mentioned here. We're going to find out who they are later, but for purposes here, only thing that is in a necessity for us to know at this time is which tribe they're of. So that's all we're getting is both mom and dad are descendants of the tribe of Levi. And she becomes pregnant, she has a child, it's healthy. That's usually translated differently. It was a fine child. The construct is parallel to the phrase in creation narrative, and God saw that it was good. So she has a child, and she sees that it is good, just like God's creation was good. So there's a play there on there being this is part of God's plan, God's creation, and we're going back to that. So she hides him for 3 months before she's no longer able to hide him. Is he getting too big? Is he getting too noisy? Is it going to attract attention when he cries? Whatever it is at this point, she can no longer hide him. Maybe the pressure just was going up. And so she goes and makes a papyrus basket, seals it, and puts him among the reeds. So in a technical sense, she is doing what Pharaoh had said to do, put the Hebrew boys in the river. She has gone and she has put her son in the Nile River. So I guess technically you could say she's following the order to put the Hebrew boy in the river, but not the spirit of the law. So puts him in the river. Now it's interesting here, like how this gets portrayed at times. Look at who does what. She puts him in the river. And now we know what happens, so we make some assumptions here at times. It does not say, and she told his sister, her daughter, to keep an eye on it and to protect him in any way she could. No. It simply says she set him among the reeds at the edge of the Nile. So perhaps this is her new hiding place, and she's going to come back from time to time to nurse him when she can. Maybe there's more of that, like she's hiding him here during the day so that she can't hide him. She's going to come back. She's going to nurse him every so often, but we don't have any other than that. Like, was this a full abandonment? We don't know because we never get that part. Then sister stations herself at a distance to find out what would happen to him. So what we have here on the footnote, the verb nifl imperfect, it should be classified here that the historical future from this perspective of this point is the past in the narrative. Oh, okay. So she is going to watch from a distance. So is this simply curiosity? Because sister doesn't know what to do about this. Sister is like distraught over it in some ways. That brother is there. She wants to see what happens. Is he going to be found? Is he going to cry? Is an animal going to come along? There's lots of options of what it could be. We know what happens, but sister might just have curiosity, not knowing what's going to happen, and want to watch. Is she planning to protect? Don't know. Don't know. Was there any thought that this could have been? Now, there's some who think that there could be some intent of where he was placed. Would have been possibly a known place that maybe Pharaoh's daughter bathed here regularly. So maybe there's a bigger plan here. We don't have any of that in the text telling us there's a bigger plan. We only have that it happened and then this happened. So Pharaoh's daughter, and again, we don't have the name of Pharaoh mentioned. It is possible perhaps to identify with certainty who this person is. It's impossible. For those who want to take the view of Ramses, was the Pharaoh. There are numerous daughters for Ramses. She is named Tarmut and June. Josephus spells it differently. So Meryl, reasonable case for her, identified as the famous Hatshepsut, well, I can't say that one, daughter of Tutmosis I. I like the idea of that one, of being Tutmosis, because if you're having a son and naming him Moses, and there is a Pharaoh, your dad, who's named Tutmosis, and we have a Tutmosis that disappears, I lean in that direction. I do. Venturing out, praying for wildlife doesn't get you. I really wouldn't worry about it too much. I mean, I know there is stuff, but enjoy, Mel. I'll see you later. So Pharaoh's daughter comes down just to wash herself, to bathe in the Nile. She recognizes there's something over there. She sends one of the attendants to go and get it, opens it up, and she saw the child, a boy, crying, and she felt compassion. So she sees, it says, the child. So we're laying this out slowly. The child, a boy, and crying. So the boy cries apparently when the light comes in, when opened up. Maybe couldn't hear it when the basket was sealed. Anyway, we now have it is a boy. So she then says, this is one of the Hebrew children. How does she know it's one of the Hebrew children? This is one of those things where you'd have to try to paste together what would tell you it's a Hebrew child. It could be that the swaddling clothes, the blanket, whatever else, the fabric that is around the child in there is identifiable as Hebrew. The same way that you might have, native tribes that do quilting and their blankets are unique in style and pattern to their heritage. So it could be something along those lines. There is something in his clothing that is stylistic of a pattern or colors or materials that are going to be distinct of Hebrew. Therefore, you have it's Hebrew. Also, if he was circumcised, it doesn't tell us that they circumcised him, but he's 3 months old, and if they are following things, and you're told he's a Levite, and so the Levitical priest is going to be participating in the circumcisions on some level, circumcision on the 8th day, presenting in the temple later on, but there's some precursors to that. So if circumcision is given, and you're supposed to do it on the 8th day, and, we have a Hebrew child, that could be another identifier, but we have a few things that make that cloudy later on. So anyway, we don't know. It's all speculation of how does she know that he is a Hebrew. It doesn't matter how, she does know. She does know indeed. Yeah, well, Lou says, because an Egyptian mother wouldn't put a baby in a basket in the Nile. Well, that could be a fair assumption too. Yeah, there would be no need for a Egyptian to hide a baby, hoping the baby would live. If the Egyptian woman is getting rid of the baby, they're not hoping it lives. So, yeah, there wouldn't be a need for an Egyptian woman to do it. Fair enough. I like that thought. Belser was just thinking a baby found in the river, knowing the command if Pharaoh. Yeah, the commands of Pharaoh, you find a baby, the command is that they're supposed to be put in the Nile. But notice when she saw the baby, she has compassion on him. So she is already planning some kind of rescue for the child because she has compassion. This is the difference at times when there is a real person involved and it's theoretical people that you don't know and can't see. So there's a difference with a person in front of you that you need to interact with. A name and a face to the order. The name and a face, this is a 3-month-old. All baby boys are supposed to be thrown in the river. I'm not going through with that. So she is going to defy her father's orders. That part is clear here. Now, the sister steps in. When did the sister speak up on behalf of the people as well in a different way? She has a big role over the people. They mourn when she dies later on, so we know she's important. And I think this is one of those things revealing her character. She steps in, perhaps at risk of her own safety, to speak up, and she has a plan. Shall I go and get a nursing woman from the Hebrews so that she may nurse the child for you? She has a plan that she brings up. Pharaoh's daughter says, yes, do so. And she goes and gets the child's mother. I love this. I love how this works out. Hey, mom's going to raise the boy. So now, mom gets to have the baby back. She gave the baby away. She gets the baby back until the baby is weaned. And then that baby is going to be given over to Pharaoh. So in difference of the story of Samuel that we were reading, he is given over after being weaned to the work of God. Here, he's given over to Pharaoh's daughter to be raised in Pharaoh's household. So there is a training piece that will be coming along for Moses, which we're just going to skip it through when we get further into this chapter. So take the child, nurse him, and then I will pay your wages. So this is fascinating. Mom gets paid to raise the child and to nurse the child. So you get paid to do what was illegal to do. Illegal to have a boy and let the boy live, but we're going to pay you to raise this one. I just love the irony that God brings about at times to thwart man's plans. It's beautiful. When the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She called his name Moses, saying, I drew him from the water. The name meaning provides a climax and summary of the story. The name Moshe is explained by I drew him from the water. It appears to be a name in etymological connection to the verb in the saying, which is from masha, or masha, to draw out. But commentators have found it a little difficult that the explanation of the name of the daughter of Pharaoh is Hebrew when the whole background is Egyptian. Moreover, the Hebrew spelling of the name is a form of active participle, the one who draws out. To be a precise description, it should have been spelled mashu, the passive participle, the one drawn out. The etymology is not precise. Rather, it is a word play called paranomisia. Either the narrator merely attributed words to her, which is unlikely outside of fiction, or the Hebrew account simply translated what she had said in Hebrew, finding the Hebrew word with the same sounds as the name. Such wordplay on names, also popular etymology, are common in the Bible. Most agree that the name is an Egyptian name. Josephus attempted to connect the biblical etymology with the name in Greek Moses, stating that Mo in Egyptian for water and uses means those rescued from it. So anyway, we have a word play or a name play, and I'm not gonna there's a lot here. This is a long footnote. Debating Moses' name. Isn't that fun? We're debating Moses' name, which she's saying it means to draw out of the. Why wouldn't she give him an Egyptian name? Very likely she might have. But also, I think there could be, if Tutmosis and name him Moses, there's a connection there on some level too, but I don't know. Don't know. Doesn't matter. Okay, let's keep going. So now Moses grows up. We don't have any of the raising in the temple. We don't know what he was instructed on. We don't know any of his upbringing other than he's raised in an Egyptian Pharaoh household, going to be one of privilege, going to be one of learning that he's going to have access to. So in an interesting way, he's going to be one with knowledge of Egyptian ways, knowledge of Egyptian scholarship, and in being able to do writing, in some ways very similar to Paul being one who was brought up with various skills and all of those things. And then later, when you have an interaction and a calling, is now going to be used for the purposes of God. So some parallels there, but we don't have to jump ahead. That's not one that people always think about. Okay. Moses grows up and he's observing his people, their hard labor, and he saw an Egyptian man attacking a Hebrew man. Makeh is the hiphil participle of the root makah and is translated to strike, smite, beat, attack. It could be used in the sense of killing, as in the next verse, which says Moses hid the body, but it doesn't necessarily indicate here that the Egyptian killed the Hebrew. So how does the word get out of Moses has killed an Egyptian if the person who was struck is still alive? If he's still alive, he might be telling the tale that Moses rescued me. Even if Moses looks this way and that and sees no one, which to me almost kind of makes it imply he looks this way and that because he saw, maybe the guy's unconscious, maybe he's dead, I don't see anyone else around, so I'm going to intervene. That could be it, but it doesn't say anything about, and he told the guy not to tell anything. It doesn't say anything about the guy still being alive. We don't know. Just that he was attacked, and Moses' attack resulted in a dead body, which he conceals in the sand. When he went out the next day, there were two Hebrew men fighting. He said to the one in the wrong, "Why are you attacking your fellow Hebrew?" So the one in the wrong, the one with power, the word rasha is a legal term meaning the guilty. So intervening, such same reason Pharaoh will later, he does not recognize his authority. Later, Pharaoh will use the term to declare himself as in the wrong and God in the right. So this word will play a role later. The man replied, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you planning to kill me like you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid, thinking, "Surely what I did has become known." So he begins to think, surely what I did becomes known. And then the next statement is, when Pharaoh heard about all this events, he sought to kill Moses. So Moses fled from Pharaoh and settled in the land of Midian. And he settled by a certain well. Yes, no witnesses. Yeah. If the guy was dead, where would the witnesses have come from? This also should remind us in some ways of Joseph's brothers all of a sudden feeling like they've been found out. When the money is in the sacks, oh no, God has found out. And then from there, they are continuously paranoid about things. Here we have Moses is paranoid about things. Now, what's interesting is Like, why doesn't he just go to Pharaoh and be able to explain what happened and confess the situation in some way? Because he is now a Hebrew and knows to be a Hebrew, maybe there was something where he didn't get fully treated like an Egyptian, and now there was an excuse that's going to give Pharaoh reason to come after him. And again, you watch any of the movies about it, there's a whole bunch that they put in here of him being a military leader and all these other things with Moses. We know nothing of any of that other than he was raised and now he. But your point is, again, God uses good for evil. Yes, he does over and over again. Absolutely, he does. So we have Moses going and settling in the land of Midian. Okay, the location of Midian or Midian is uncertain, but it had to have been beyond the Egyptian border on the east, either in the Sinai or beyond it, the Arabah, south of the Dead Sea, or even to the east of the Gulf of Aqaba. The Midianites seem to have traveled intensively in the desert region. Reasons that since they later were enemies of Israel, it is unlikely that these traditions would have been made up about Israel, greater lawgiver. Furthermore, he explains that Ishmaelite and Kenite might have been clan names within the region of Midian. For a different view, you can go read this other. So where is this at? We don't really know. We don't fully know. So anyway, he goes to a place where Midian is, and he goes to a certain well. The word for the definite article, the well, Gensenis, listed this use as the article as that which denotes a thing that is yet unknown to the reader but present in the mind under the circumstances. Okay, so he goes to the well. And a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and began to draw water. What's the interesting thing here? How many wells have we already been at with drawing water for someone else? So let's just do a recap here. We have Abraham's servant going to a well, and there is where Rebecca is met at the well. She comes out to draw water, and she draws water for all of his camels and for him to drink. So we have that, which is going to be a lot of water. Then we have Jacob, who is fleeing from his brother, and he goes to the well, and there we have shepherdesses, Leah and Rachel, who are there. Yes, shepherdesses there, sisters who are there, Laban's daughters. So we have Laban's sister at a well, Laban's daughters at a well, and now we here are again with 7, the totality of the number of children. 7 being completeness, fun number. 7 daughters, and so there's no sons, but they're the shepherdesses, and they bring their father's flock. And apparently what happens is the men don't let them water their flock until they're done. The men are abusive when they show up, and they're like, we're first, and we're bigger, we're badder, what are you going to do about it? They just get used to it. But Moses ain't having it. He saw that they were in the wrong. He defends them. He then waters the flock. He takes the initiative to do the work. Does he know that the Midianites are related in some way? Does Moses know any of this? We don't know. But their father's name is Ruel, is given here. In other places, he is called Jethro. Some suggest that this is simply a confusion of traditions, but it is not uncommon for ancients like Sabeans, kings, priests, to have more than one name. Several of the kings of Israel, including Solomon, did. Ruel means friend of God. So maybe this is not his name. This is simply an introduction. Their father was a friend of God. So they're introducing that he's a priest of Midian in a slow roll way. Hey, their father was a friend of God, so he's going to know the true God. Why would he know this? Because Midianites are related families to them. Yeah, Shaihu talking about other places where God orchestrates things or turns evil for good with persecutions and things with kings doing things, and God could orchestrate things perfectly. Absolutely. Yeah, you don't know if Moses would have known. No, I'm not suspecting Moses would have known. No, I'm not trying to say that. I'm saying the way it is being told to us as the story unfolds, the unfolding of the story is what I'm commenting on, not on Moses' knowledge of any of this. So, why have you come home so early today? So he's like, why? How'd you get home so early? Like, this would be like if your normal commute when I lived in the Dallas area, my wife's normal commute was an hour plus of driving. If she suddenly was home 45 minutes early, I'd say, how the heck did you get home so early today? Like, what happened? Oh, we got out of work early, so I got on the road early. So whatever it was. Like, it would be a surprise if it's a normal occurrence and suddenly you're here in a different way. So we, have that show up, and he's like, well, what happened? And they say, yeah, this guy helped us. Why did you bring him home for a meal? Like, how did you not thank him? Where's your manners, girls? Where's your manners? Bring that boy home. Bring that boy home. Like, we need to feed him. Like, he also might be a guy of this character. This might be what he's thinking too. A guy of this character who is going to do this on your behalf, not knowing who you are, is a protector of the people. And he is going to be one that is worthy of giving my daughter's hand to. Like, this very story of interaction is enough introduction to know, here's the kind of man I want my daughters to marry. One who self-sacrifices of himself to do work for strangers and to be a protector for them. Like, what more do I need? What more do I need? So where is he? Did you leave him there? Call him so we may have a meal with us. Moses agreed to stay with the man, and he gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. Okay, so let's go look up Zipporah and what that means. Okay, so Zipporah means bird. Zipporah means bird. Not necessarily, the most, fancy name, but anyway. Hey, welcome in. Good to see you. Good afternoon, dear friend. Miss you. Sorry you haven't stopped by so much. Well, time change and other stuff like that makes it difficult at times. Should make more effort to see you more often because you appreciate you and you are a great friend. Much love. Thank you, friend. Yeah, I've been missing you. I do see your stuff and try to give a heart to it when I see your posts and drawings. I still always appreciate the joy that I see on the faces that you draw. There's always that smile that it brings to my face, friend. Okay, back to the text. Keeping on the story. Okay, so he named him Gershom. I have become a resident foreigner in a foreign land. Like the naming of Moses, this name that incorporated a phonetic wordplay forms a commemorative summary of the account just provided. Moses seems to have settled into domestic life with the new wife and his father-in-law, but when the first son is born, he named him Gershom, or Gershom. There is little information available about what the name by itself might have meant. It is linked to the drive away used earlier, garage, when he drove away. Then the final mem would have been explained as an enclectic mem. It seems most likely that verb was used in the narrative to make a secondary wordplay of the name. The primary explanation is popular etymology supplied by Moses himself. Okay. So again, we have names and we have a meaning explanation in the name, but the name explanation doesn't always match what we would look at. What is the makeup of this name? The pieces of it don't always add up to the explanation of the name. That's what we simply have going on. Oh yeah, thank you. You like the glasses? Yeah, I do. These are my stream glasses. So during the long period of time, the king of Egypt died, and the Israelites groaned because of the slave labor. They cried out to God in desperation. So we're getting a summary here at the end, and we have a long period of time, the king of Egypt dies, and the slave labor continues, and the people are groaning. So just because Moses has left, perhaps in Pharaoh's anger, because he can't go against Moses, who has fled, he is going to make things more harsh than they had been for a while, or he's going to increase the harshness of things. And so that king of Egypt dies, who we don't know the name of. The baby killer, we don't know, he dies. Okay. But they're still under slave labor, and they are groaning, and God remembered his covenant. This is not about God forgetting. This is God calling to mind. For instance, I was talking about yesterday, as I was riding on the airplane, I was watching a movie which had Neil Diamond in it, and in the hearing of the Neil Diamond, I was calling to mind my stepfather who liked Neil Diamond. I had not forgotten this. This isn't, I just all of a sudden, because music was playing, I remembered, oh yeah, he liked it. I never forgot that information. I was only bringing it to the forefront of my mind to dwell on it. So when we have God is remembering things, it is a bringing to the forefront of his memory. It is now dwelling on and thinking about that. It's not I forgot and now I remembered. Like, I can't think of that person's name. And then all of a sudden I remember it because I had forgotten it. This is not about God forgetting. It is a bringing to mind to dwell on, to think about, and to spend time thinking about his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then God saw the Israelites, and God understood. Let me see what the footnote is on that. And God knew. Okay. Yada is the one to know. It's experiential knowledge. So in the recalling of it and seeing what is going on, God is all understanding and sees and knows all of that. So